Hey, I'm Mark Romanack, and on this week's episode, we're visiting a beautiful community called Elk Rapids, Michigan. It's absolutely gorgeous, but something different. We're going to target a species we've never had on Fishing 411.
You know, we're just getting set up this morning. We're targeting a species of fish that we have never filmed here at Fishing 411 before. And we're setting up and the screen is just lit with fish. So hopefully that's a good sign. We're gonna start setting rods and hopefully shortly we'll have some boards going back, Dad.
Got one. Haven't even got that one set.
Well, I tell you what, Dad, we're hooked up.
I haven't got my lines in the water yet. That's not fair.
That's a pretty good sign. We're just getting set up this morning and there are just fish all over the graph.
Well, the last graph is definitely lit up, so. All right, well, cool. Well, maybe I'll wander towards the landing net for you.
Well, we got a 5 color, so it's gonna be a little while, Dad. This rod was sitting at the back of the boat. We didn't even have it hooked up to the planer board yet. And I picked it up to hook it up to the planer board and there was one on it. So I was told that this style of fishing, it's gonna be fast, it's gonna be furious, and we're gonna catch a lot of fish. And so far, that's the case. We've had 2 bites and we're not even set up yet.
I gotta just cut a little bit in front of you here, Jake. Maybe you'll get a net on this thing.
We got him here. I think we've got him pretty much under control now, Dad. Why don't you put a scoop to him?
There we go.
Here we go.
First one in the box.
Wow. You know, I guess the cat's out of the bag. We're out here catching Cisco. Like I said, we just got set up and we've already had a couple fish on this morning. But it's a fish that's overlooked by a lot of anglers. They're very abundant here in the Great Lakes. They're great eating fish and they're chunky and man, they put up a pretty good fight. So we're gonna put this one in the box. We're gonna get set back up again and hopefully we'll show you a whole bunch more of these here on this week's episode of Fishing 411. Fish on! Fish on! Fish on!
Whoa, that didn't take long.
That looks like a better fish, Dad.
I don't know, they're all good fish, but I think we're gonna be having some action here, there's little doubt about that. The goal today was to fish 6 lines, 4 planer boards and 2 downriggers, and so far we haven't got more than 3 lines in the water, so I think that's a good sign. He's right here, Jakers.
Well, that didn't take very long.
No, and the riggers are gonna come up pretty quick. I got a long leader on here.
Nice fish, Dad. There we go. On scoop.
For those who don't know about the Cisco, it's actually a member of the whitefish family, and there's a lot of confusion on the species because people call it all kinds of different names. They call them Ciscoes, they call them tullibees, they call them lake herring. And the lake herring is the really most confusing because they're not even members of the herring family at all. They're members of the whitefish family, and they are good eating. As you can see, they're abundant and a lot of fun to catch.
Let's take a second and talk about our basic setup for our downriggers. And what we're doing is we're using a junior streak spoon, just a little spoon by Silver Streak. This is a real small spoon, it's a silver back. Color really hasn't seemed to matter here, but from that spoon we have it tied on to a snap swivel. That snap swivel is what's giving that spoon the action. And then as we go up the leader here, we have a really long leader with 12-pound test fluorocarbon. And that long leader is because the water is just so crystal clear here in Grand Traverse Bay. Then you get up to the business side of things, and this is honestly what I think is catching a lot of these fish, and this is the 4-inch Big Al fish flash. Now what this does is it just spins in the water and it creates flash, and these fish can see it from a long ways away. We create this long leader, so when these fish see that flash from a long ways away, they'll come in to investigate, and then they'll find that spoon on the business end. It's been a really good product that we've been using not only for catching these Ciscoes, but catching all different kinds of trout and salmon, and heck, even walleye in dirty water. So it's a really good system. Then from there, we go up to our main line. Our main line is just our normal downrigger rods. We have 15-pound test fluorocarbon on our downrigger rods and a nice soft action rod. That soft action rod allows for us to see those fish just barely bite. You can just see that rod tip just kind of move just a little bit, and a lot of times that's all the bite. So then you can pop it off the downrigger release, reel down to that fish fast, catch up to them so they don't get off. But that's your basic setup for catching these fish with a downrigger.
You know, Jake did a really nice job of explaining the basic rig, and the only thing that I would add to it is because the water's really clear here, we're running a little longer leader than you might imagine. From the fish flash to the spoon, we're running about a 7 to an 8-foot leader, and I think that's important in clear water. If this water was murky or off-colored, we could shorten up that leader considerably, but you want a little separation between the fish flash and the spoon, and in clear water, 6 to 7, 8 foot, not a bad way to go.
Additional considerations provided by Lowrance Electronics. Find, navigate, dominate. Additional considerations provided by Fishhawk Electronics. Trolling without a fishhawk is called boating.
You know, I think the focus on this week's show is to really stress how to fish leg core and copper and downriggers. And if you can successfully fish this kind of fishing, it's just going to be a lot of fun for you to catch all different kinds of species. Now you can be successful when you're catching trout, salmon, or these Ciscoes just like this. So learning how to fish this leg core setup, fishing downriggers, it's going to open up a ton of possibilities for catching all different kinds of fish here in the Great Lakes. You got another one on, Dad. I just got this rigger set back in, and it's just, it went off almost right away. That was 40 down, and from what I can see, it seems like these fish are all over the water column. You know, we've caught fish as high as a 3-color leg core, now down as low as like a 10-color of lead. This fish was about 40 down, so that's about like a 7-color of leg core is what that would have been. So these little guys are just a riot. They're just thumping, Dad.
Oh, you got him right here already, man. I forgot he's on a rigger. He's going to get here quick. You know, even though these fish are small enough, a guy might think you can alley-oop them. You really can't because they got a small mouth and a light mouth. You really got to put them in a landing net to make sure you land them.
They're like little footballs, man. They are definitely healthy.
Way thicker than you would imagine. They catch these a lot of places, but these are some of the healthiest ones you're going to find.
Yeah, these fish are just like little torpedoes. They're thick, they're chunky, and they're healthy. And you know what? They're actually surprisingly fun to catch. I didn't know what it was going to be like when we got out here. But they got some shoulders on them, and they don't want to come to the back of the boat.
Not bad for a fish that most people consider to be bait fish, not game fish. But today on Fishing 401, they're game fish. This week's episode was shot about the first week of November. And when you look around at the public access site here, you'll be amazed. There's virtually nobody here. We had the place to ourselves. And I think that's indicative of fall fishing in northern Michigan. We don't see a lot of fishing pressure, but the fishing is awesome for a wide variety of species. Well, I don't think fishing action can get any faster. I mean, realistically, I'm supposed to be fishing 3 lines on my side of the boat. I haven't got more than 2 in the water yet, so that's a pretty good bite. I guess that's indicative of the fact that there are a lot of Ciscoes in the system, a lot of activity. Be a great fishery to bring a kid out on, and let them just have a whole lot of fun just reeling in tons of fish. That's why I brought my big kid. As you can see, this one's on a planer board rig, and it's really too early to tell what's going to happen here as far as whether we're going to catch more on planer boards or whether we're going to catch more on downriggers. The way it looks, we're going to catch a bunch on both. But the beauty of being able to use planer boards is it spreads out your rig. You don't have to fish all your gear straight behind the back of the boat. You can get out to the side, you can cover more water, you can cover more depths. And of course, when you're fishing more lines, you get to fish more lures, which means that you can put more colors in the water, So it just is a much better deal. Planer boards make you a more efficient and more successful fisherman. You know, because Ciscoes have got a soft mouth, or they're very similar to the whitefish, you really can't put a lot of pressure on these. So if we were fishing for trout and salmon right now, I'd be kind of pulling back on the rod and then dropping the rod tip and reeling up the slack, trying to gain ground while you're pulling against these fish. You really don't want to do that on these Ciscoes. Just a steady, slow retrieve is going to get you the most success and get these fish to the back of the boat where you want them. Hey, Jakers, mine's right here, man. If I can get him inside that rigger line. There
Oh, yeah, you got him.
Oh, just as I did that, I got a bite on the rigger.
There you go. Nice fish, Dad.
If you want to take that one and hook it, Jake, I'll see if I can catch up to this one on the rigger. Oh. This one was too smart for us. Well, Ciscoes are a member of the trout family, closely related to whitefish, and the dead giveaway is that they have an adipose fin. Well, what's an adipose fin? Well, if you look at the back fin or the caudal fin, tail fin of a fish, right in front of that, if it has another little fin, a dorsal fin in the top, a small one, that's called an adipose fin, and that's the dead giveaway that these are members of the trout family.
Our basic leg core setup is very similar to what you'd use for any kind of trout and salmon fishing application. The one thing that we did that's a little bit different is when we fish for big fish like big trout and big salmon, we like to use a 20-pound test fluorocarbon leader from the leg core to our spoon. And that leader is anywhere from 30 to 40 feet. We like to keep it nice and long because the Great Lakes are so clean. But today we're fishing for fish that are a little bit smaller, so our presentation is a little bit smaller. And to get the same action out of the presentation that we're trying to get, we had to go down to a smaller diameter line. So what I did is I took the 20-pound test fluorocarbon leader off of our leg core setups and tied on a 12-pound test fluorocarbon leader. That gives that spoon a little bit more action, and it's a little bit less visible in this very clear water.
Yeah, because you're going to want the landing net on this one for sure. This is a nice fish.
Let me grab it here.
You know, just didn't think about Ciscoes as being big. This one's just plain big. It's the size of a whitefish. It's huge.
That board ripped back, and he's been fighting the whole way. This is a pretty good. Got him, Dad.
It's a 4-pound fish, man.
What a fish.
Let me get him out of here. Look at that. They're gorgeous. A lot more fun than I thought it was going to be, Jake. I got to admit. A lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. Very cool.
Additional considerations provided by Procure, ruthlessly effective bait suds. Special considerations provided by Bait Rigs Tackle, America's innovator of fine fishing products, and by Eagle Claw Hooks, proudly made in America since 1925.
Over the years, I've owned a number of Evinrude E-Tech engines, and I've loved all of them. Recently, I had an opportunity to step up and go to their second generation, the G2. One of the things I like special about the G2 is the digital dash display that it has. It gives me all the information I need as a fisherman to know my engine's running at peak performance. One of the cool things about the digital gauges is that when you go to the home screen, it's going to give you your critical information. It's going to tell you how fast you're going. It's going to tell you what your RPMs are, and it's also going to tell you your percentage of trim. But there's a lot more information you can get out of these gauges. Now, there's a lot of different screens on these gauges that you can use, but the one I use the most is miles per gallon. When I'm fishing and I'm running across the lake at full RPM, I like to see how much fuel I'm burning, and I can see exactly what my miles per gallon are based on my speed, my RPM, and my trim percentage. By adjusting those variables, I can get my maximum miles per gallon. Why is that important to me? It saves me money. Every day on the water while I'm fishing, I dial my engine into the point where I'm saving money, not burning any extra gas than I absolutely have to. The other icon I use a lot is called the bell icon. When you push the bell icon, up comes an important number for me. Engine hours. It's going to tell me exactly how much time I've put on my engine. Why is that important? Well, eventually this E-Tech is going to need to be serviced by a marine dealer. So you're going to want to be able to monitor that to know that when you get to that number, you can take it in for service. That's the bad news. The good news is it's 5 years or 500 hours of service before you have to take it for its first scheduled maintenance. Now that is absolutely amazing.
Hey, Dad, there's one on the rigger right here. There he is. So fast action. And tell you what, Dad, we just put your fish in the box and we're already fighting another one. I think the key was, you know, it never really slowed down for us, but we slid up in a little bit shallower water and it slowed down just a little bit, got back out to some deeper water. You know, if you can picture the way the structure we're fishing out here is it's almost straight down like a wall. You know, just a couple boat lengths, you'll be in 40 feet of water. all of a sudden you'll be out to 200 feet of water. So we're kind of just fishing the edge of this structure. And about 100 feet of water seems to be the best for putting these guys in the boat.
Another one right there, baby. You know it's good fishing when you don't have time to wipe the slime off your hands between fish. Good job, Jakers. One of the things that we like about fishing in Grand Traverse Bay is it's an excellent small boat fishery. It's big water, but it's fairly well protected. So with a small boat, you can still get offshore and fish in deep water. And you can't say that in many places in the Great Lakes. Most of the Great Lakes are so exposed to the open waters that going out there in a small boat can be foolhardy. Here you can use a small boat and you can have great big water experiences. While Jake was explaining how we're catching them on downriggers, I was actually catching one on a downrigger. This fish flash and spoon combination is super deadly here. It's amazing how fast this is. We almost can't get these things down before we get a bite.
You want me to net them for you, Dad?
You bet. He's ready for the scoop.
Alrighty. Oh, got him in the scoop.
Well, it's early November for us right now, and these fish are in fairly deep water. So we're using some deeper lead core rigs to fish them. But you can catch these fish spring, summer, and fall here. All you have to do is transition your tackle and where you're fishing for them. In the springtime, they're in closer to shore, and they're in much shallower water, and you can catch them with spoons and just small weight systems like snap weights if you wanted. Then in the summer, of course, they move out into deeper water, and gear similar to what we're using here is going to work again. After these fish spawn, they're going to drop right back out here in this deep water. So literally, you can fish them until the bay freezes. So this is a year-round fish where you can fish them spring, summer, fall, right up to ice up.
Hey, Dad, you got one on this inside board right here.
Oh yeah, I'm on it.
Whoa, 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 I got one right here too. You know, I said it before, Dad, we're gonna keep saying it. Trolling is such an effective method for catching fish. When you put planer boards on lead core, you're getting a lot of lines out there and you're getting a lot of fish. We got another double. This is, how many doubles have we had today so far?
Too many to count already, and I think it boils down to we're covering the water very effectively. 3 colors, 5 colors, 7 colors, 10 colors. We got the water covered literally top to bottom.
You know, if there is a disadvantage to lead core fishing, that would be you have to have a setup for each lead core that you're fishing. And what I mean by that is that if you want to fish, 20 feet down, you're going to have to do that with a 4 or a 5 color of lead. So it takes a lot of setups. But when you have these setups, it makes you very efficient. And like Dad says, we have a 3 color, a 5 color, a 7 color, and a 10 color of lead core fishing in the water right now. So we're literally fishing from 15 foot down all the way down to 50 foot down and covering just a swath of water as we come across this break.
You're probably not going to go out and buy rods and reels just to fish for Cisco, but chances are you already have the right equipment. We're using basically the same stuff we use for walleye fishing and just applying it for another species. So you can get a lot of mileage out of your walleye rods, trolling up not only these Ciscoes, but also brown trout and other trout and salmon species. All right. Whew. You see how chunky these are. Big part of the reason why they're so chunky is these are fall spawners. They're just about ready to spawn. They start spawning when the water gets to about 40 degrees, and it's just in the 50s right now. So not more than a month away they'll be spawning.
There we go. Wow.
Put them up here side by side here, and we'll see what we got here.
Wow, those are big fish, Dad.
They are definitely big Ciscoes.
Wow. They're hard to hold on to.
You're lucky. Your spoon just popped out. I gotta work on getting mine out. Not bad, man. Not bad.
A lot of fun. So much fun.
Additional considerations provided by the Ultimate Sports Show Tour, Michigan's premier sports shows. Additional considerations provided by Motor Guide, engineered for anglers.
Well, one of the things to understand about Ciscoes is they're pelagic fish. What's that mean? Well, it means they can be anywhere in the water column from the top all the way to the bottom. And we're fishing them in open water, and if you look around out here, you'd think, well, geez, they're just everywhere. Well, actually, they're not just everywhere. They're primarily on certain structure breaks, and today it seems to be between 100 foot of water and about 130 feet of water is where we're finding these fish. Now, tomorrow they may be a little deeper or they may be a little shallower, but if you understand that these fish are going to orient to a certain depth break and suspend above that break, you're going to have a much better chance of staying on fish consistently.
You know, technology is such a cool tool when it comes to fishing, and the piece of technology that I'm using today is called Gateway. Now what Gateway is, it is teaming up my Lowrance electronics with my XI5 motor guide. I can literally tell my boat where to drive. It's as simple as the touchscreen on your touchscreen Lowrance unit. You know, we're fishing this break today, and I can choose, all right, I want to stay on this 130-foot contour. And what I can do is literally touch that contour on my graph, and the electric motor, my XI5, will drive right to that point. It's keeping you driving in a perfectly straight line, it's keeping your boat control perfect, and it's allowing everyone to be at the back of the boat catching fish, having fun, and not worrying about where their boat's going.
Well, anytime that we're fishing with downriggers, you're going to see us use a piece of electronic equipment called the Fish Hawk. The Fish Hawk is important for us because it does a lot of different things. It gives us a lot of important data. For example, it's a depth probe that when you put it down in the water on the downrigger ball will tell us what the water temperature is down below the surface. And that's really important for a lot of species like trout and salmon that like certain water temperatures. But it also gives us another piece of very critical data, and that's what we're using today. It gives us the trolling speed at depth. Now, people don't understand the concept of this, but just because you're trolling on the surface at, say, 2.5 miles an hour, doesn't mean that your gear below the surface is moving at 2.5 miles an hour. Subsurface currents influence the trolling speed at depth. And today we're fishing spoons, and spoons are very, very speed sensitive. If you go too slow, they don't have any action. So with a Fish Hawk, we can put that probe down and we can maintain an ideal trolling speed for the spoons at depth, and it's been absolutely lights out today for these Cisco.
Let's take a second and talk about the rod holders that I'm using today. And my boat is using a cradle style rod holder, and it really works out good. What I like most about these cradles is how easy it is to pull the rods out of the holder. I've spent a lot of time when you're fishing boards rotating lines and managing your lines, and the cradle allows you to do that and get your rod in and out of the boat easily, and it's my favorite method for storing your rod.
No, it is definitely. Cisco is
nice
just a big
fish.
one. It's far bigger than we've seen today.
Dad, we have had just a ton of fun today catching these fish. They are so much fun to catch in this open water.
Hey, my name is Mark Romanack, and you've been watching Fishing 411. I hope you enjoyed today's little Cisco adventure. It's a lot of fun.
Let me get this board for you, Dad.
Whew.
Closed captioning is provided by Fish Hawk Electronics. Fishing 411 is brought to you by Offshore Tackle, your leaders in trolling technology. Yakima Bait, home of the rooster tail. Evinrude Outboards, introducing the E-Tech G2. Starcraft Marine, America's oldest aluminum fishing boat line. Jay's Sporting Goods, trust in the tradition. Cisco Fishing Systems, fish the finest. Smooth moves, smooth your ride. Precision Trolling Data, the Troller's Bible now available in an app. Fish Niagara, USA, up close and powerful.
This show was shot about the first week of August, and we literally had the place to ourselves. You look around the boat launch, beautiful facilities. August. Yeah, okay. That's right. Let's try that again. Get my months.
No problem.
All right.